accessible to all Americans. Now we have, tonight, we are honored to have a real fighter for the people. He is a grassroots leader. He has worked his adult life for reform of our healthcare system. He's a great guy. He's a terrific person. We're honored to have him with us. Governor Howard Dean.
In front of a crowd this size, it was me that was doing the screaming. Now it's you that's doing the screaming. We appreciate that. Thank you. I'm just going to say a very short few words. And the reason I'm going to say a very short few words is that I think that Jim did a terrific job laying out his thoughts on the health care. So how about a round of applause for Jim Moran, a great congressperson who was very thoughtful and knows his stuff. The reason that I believe that we need a health care reform in this country, first, is that the cost of health care is 70% more expensive in this country than it is in any other country. This country spends 17% of groceries on health care. Next.
I'm sorry, but I can't even hear the governor, and I'm sitting next to him, which means that there are hundreds of people in this gymnasium who can't hear him because of a handful of people. Now, these folks are not from the 8th District. They really don't belong here, and I'm going to ask them to leave. His name is Randall Terry, and he announced yesterday that he was coming to this meeting precisely for the purpose of disrupting it. That's not the purpose of the meeting. And so I'm going to ask that he be escorted out. You can share your views. Didn't hear me because my staff person didn't even hear what I had to say. His name is Randall Terry. He wants to make me, he's an abortion rights activist. I consider him to be a bit of a radical because all he does is try to disrupt meetings, and he announced yesterday in the press that he was coming here for the purpose of disrupting this meeting. That's why I'm asking him to leave, because we've got other purposes for this meeting. So Mr. Terry, if you would leave, please. Please leave, Mr. Terry. You know, you brought in 2,000 people. Sir, relax. You brought them all in. You brought them all in. You know what, Mr. Terry, if you were so inclined, let me suggest this. If you wanted, but you'd have to abide by this, rather than being escorted out, you could have the option of having the first question in 5 minutes to say whatever you want. But then it would be restricted because we need to hear from other people. So you have your choice. Otherwise, you really need to leave because we need to move forward with this. Stay in the audience with the rest of the people. I know you think it's special, but there's hundreds of people. Governor Dean, if you would.
How about waiting until you get a mic? How about waiting for your mic, sir?
As I said, I'm going to be extremely brief because I'd like to hear from you, not that I haven't already. There are three problems that we have to fix. And regardless of whether you're a conservative or a liberal or a Democrat or a Republican, I think you'll agree we have to fix them. One is that health insurance is 70% more expensive in this country than it is in the next three most expensive countries. That's harming our economy and it's harming our businesses. Two, there are a large number of people in this country that have no health insurance. And I don't know anybody, wherever you are on the political spectrum, that thinks that's okay. One thing that I think Republicans and Democrats agree about in the Congress is that we need some kind of health care reform and that we ought to cover everybody in some way. And three, the way that we pay for health care in this country leads us to do a lot of things that aren't necessary. There's an enormous amount of stuff that we do to people at all ages, from the oldest to the youngest, that we do because people like me get paid because we do them. And in many systems of healthcare around the world, they have a different kind of payment system which leads that country to develop what we call a wellness model instead of an illness model, which is what we have in this country. So, now, I think most people agree with that we'd rather pay for people for keeping us healthy instead of getting paid as soon as we get sick, that we spend too much and we ought to be more in line with what other countries spend, and that we have an awful lot of people that ought to have health insurance, some of whom have it through don't have it for no fault of their own. Now I'm going to say two more things. The first is why I believe so strongly in this. When I was practicing medicine, this is probably about 20 years ago, I would guess, a woman who's about 35 years old came to me, who was pretty healthy, that I had known for a little while. And she said that she was increasingly thirsty, losing weight, having to urinate a lot. And it turned out, after some tests, she had diabetes. That was about in February. By May, her insurance companies had discontinued her insurance. I don't think that's right. And somebody needs to do something about that. And the last thing I'm going to say, which will undoubtedly send me out the way I came in, was that I support President Obama's health care plan, including the public option. And told you all the reason why. And now that I've dropped that hot potato, I'm going to sit down the same way I stood up and give this back to the guy whose district this is and who I think has done an outstanding job. And we'll start to answer some questions, Jim Moran.